One of the most beautiful things in sports has got to be when your team wins a championship. The connection to your team makes the win all that more sweet as you witness them parade down the streets and hoist that trophy. In every team's run towards the title, certain players have to step up in those games and series when needed most. But then there are those players that get overshadowed by the bigger names on the team. The players that make those key plays in those moments that are less talked about after the run of the chip is over. These are those untold stories of those unlikely heroes for the 2022 Houston Astros and their playoff run. In order to play in a league as unforgiving and as cutthroat as it is, you need a short memory and to be able to bounce back. For a 631st pick in the 21st round, Chas McCormick knew this all too well. The Astros would be in search for a majority of the 2022 season for a steady center fielder, not just in the straightaway, but at the plate as well. From guys like Jake Myers coming off an injury to trade pieces such as Jose Siri and Mauricio Dubon, the competition was there all season. After being sent down and back up from the minors, Chas would find himself in a prime spot to take the position for himself. Heading into the playoffs, he had shown enough for the skipper Dusty Baker to add him to the postseason roster. It wasn't until Game 3 of the ALCS against the Yankees, Chas would have his first moment. Against Astros former ace pitcher Garrett Cole, now pitching for the Yankees, in the top of the second inning, Chas would hit a 2-run shot to left field to give the Astros the lead, and they would never give it away.
Contact sport out there with Judge and Stanton. McCormick goes down the right field line. That ball's hit well. It is up and out. It hits the top of the wall. Chas McCormick, a 2-run home run.
It's every kid who grew up streamed to make a catch or a hit in the World Series that would be talked about forever. Chas was no exception to this, but a dream for many became his reality.
Fly ball right center field. McCormick on the move. He's at the track. He's at the wall. Makes the grab. Chas McCormick. 2 gone in the 9th.
One of the greatest catches in World Series history to rob Nick Castellanos of an extra base hit and a potential tie in the bottom of the 9th. The saying is frequent when teams win titles. Pitching, pitching, and more pitching. The absolute must for any team that has won a World Series. For the Astros, they bolster the top pitching rotation in the league with the deepest and the best bullpen, with Justin Verlander, Lance McCullers, and company got most of the love all year long. But it was the men in the pen and one starter that gave some of the best performances to help the Astros win in the playoffs. From a middle reliever with command issues in the minor leagues to overwhelmingly one of the very best relief pitchers in the majors. Brian Abreu had one of the greatest postseason runs in recent memory for someone at his position. With the amount of high-stress situations that he was put into and succeeded in them, he could have easily fooled people posing as the Iceman. In a pressure cooker that was Game 2 of the ALCS at Minute Maid Park against the rival New York Yankees, the Astros would call upon the young Brian Abreu with the slim 1-run lead in the top of the 8th, and against one of the most vaunted designated hitters in Giancarlo Stanton with the man on second and a full count, Brian would make the pitch of his life.
Got him.
This fastball that painted the corner of the zone, freezing Stanton, would put his seal on Game 2 and effectively end the series. The World Series against the Phillies was about as close as you could have it, and in Game 5 of that World Series, the Astros would once more call upon the Iceman, Brian Abreu, to come out and put the fire out.
1-2. Yeah, that's. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Bryce Harper. Fouls off the first one tonight from Verlander and Abreu, all fastballs. You got another, and the 0-2 pitch. Finally something on a 1-2. Harper tries to lay off. Check swing, no swing. 2-2 pitch. Popped up. It's over there. He's got it. Brian Abreu with a 1-2-3.
In the top of that 7th inning, Brian would deliver with 2 punch-outs in dominating fashion. In 11 1/3 innings, Brian would give up 0 runs, 4 hits, punch out 19, all in the playoffs, and one of the most dominating displays we've seen in a very, very long time. In order to get a title as one of the greatest bullpens in the game's history, you need to be able to do and have two things. First, you need to have the ability to bring in not just great relief pitching, but a closer without a heartbeat. Secondly, that closer needs to be able to have the ability to work out of tough jams and in tight situations. For the Astros, Ryan Presley would deliver one of the greatest postseason performances by a closer the game has seen, compiling 6 saves, 13 punch-outs, giving up 0 runs through 11 innings. And in the World Series, he was unbelievable, close to breathtaking.
5-out save in Game 5 is on there for the 9th inning. Astros 3 outs away from a World Championship. Pops it up. Tucker. Astros 2 outs away here in Game 6. He slices a pop into left. Yordan Alvarez. The Astros are 1 out away. They won their first World Series in their 56th year in 2017. Another shot and an out away. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job. The Houston Astros, world champions.
Framber Valdez became the great pitcher that he was this season. In a season where he recorded 25 consecutive quality starts, he would go into the postseason knowing that in the 2021 World Series, he would go 0-1 with an ERA of 19.29 with 3 strikeouts over 4.2 innings. So 2022 was all that more important for Framber Valdez to do what he was employed to do: get outs, throw his slider, throw his curveball, and help the Astros win their 2nd World Series title. And on November 29th, in Game 2 of the World Series, his first strikeout victim would be JT Realmuto in the top of the 1st inning. Going into the 6th inning, the Phillies would threaten for the first time in the game with the Houston Astros up 5-0. With runners on 1st and 2nd, JT Realmuto gets up, swings at a high fastball delivered at 96 miles an hour to get the first out of the inning. The next play would prove just as effective as he gets Bryce Harper to hit into a ending inning double play where the Astros stay on top 5-0 going into the 7th inning. The Astros would go on to win Game 2 and tie the series going back to Philadelphia. Going into Game 6, the Astros up 3-2 on the Phillies. All Framber Valdez had to do was replicate his previous start, and the Astros would win their 2nd World Series. He had a leadoff walk to start in the top of the 1st that ended the inning later on in a double play. The double play would then spell the end of the Phillies, ultimately getting the 3rd out. Framber would have another scoreless frame to start Game 6. To cap off that scoreless inning, Jeremy Pena makes a diving, sliding catch to his left to get a ball and to get the runner at first base. Framber Valdez is clearly on a warpath. In the 3rd inning, Framber Valdez would strike out the side. Kyle Schwarber called out on strikes. Rhys Hoskins called out on strikes. JT Realmuto goes down swinging. Strikeout. In the top of the 6th inning, Kyle Schwarber would break the scoring open with a solo home run. But yet again, the Houston Astros bats had his back as they put up 4 runs in the same inning. This would ultimately secure Framber Valdez his 2nd win in as many games in the 2022 World Series. Because of these 2 pitching performances, a case could be made for Framber Valdez becoming the World Series MVP. Framber Valdez completed his task of helping the Houston Astros win their 2nd World Series in 5 years.
So no matter where you're from, if you're drafted or you're undrafted, a midseason call-up, a midseason trade, or you're in the prime of your career, it's the most unlucky of players that become the most unlikely of heroes. Your Houston Astros are 2022 World Series champions.